Hi, everyone, and welcome to Faith in an Ever Changing World Encouragement and Hope Faith Story. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Shepherds, Robert and Marcia Shepherd. And we're so happy to have you on today. Thank you so much for being here, being my guest today.
Thank
We
you.
so have looked forward to it, Janet. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
I have too. Actor Robert Shepherd stole the nation's heart when he became everyone's father in the I Love You Dad hearing aid commercial for hearing assist. And it's on YouTube. I looked it up. But this isn't his first rodeo. Robert has over 100 movie credits to his name, and he didn't have to sell out to Hollywood to do so. He has a book, Delay is Not Denial. My story. He weaves a picturesque story of his childhood growing up on the farm in Missouri and of making his eventual way to Hollywood. He has the claim to fame of being the chosen suitor on the dating game. And I remember that show too, Robert. But he tells of a beautiful teacher to be who stole his heart. And God had other plans for this farm boy turned actor. Now, Marcia is a writer and educator, and she wrote devotionals that are included in Robert's book. So please, thank you so much again for being here with me this morning. And right after this short intro, we look forward to hearing Robert and Marcia's faith story. Okay, Robert and Marcia, if you will, please share your faith story with us.
You want to begin?
I'll let you start.
Well, I think, Janet, for me, the faith story really can't start until I really felt like at about a seventh grader that I made a profession of faith as Jesus
Ah,
Christ is my personal
mm,
Savior.
yes.
So, that was the beginning of so many different opportunities
Yeah.
to share the faith and also be beneficiary of having faith in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I had a couple of things that, in particular, I really felt it put it to the test. I had gone into the Marcia and I had gotten married. We went into the military, which I had loved, but I resigned my commission because I wanted to follow this dream of acting. And so
Mm,
we moved out to LA. And 10 days after our daughter was born, Marcia had an aneurysm. But through the Lord's grace, she was miraculously, totally restored.
wow.
And I would not say that I was the greatest faith man that you've ever come in contact with. It's not my normal thing. I'm kind of a worry about
Yeah.
things. But as
Yeah.
devastating as this was, I really felt that God was telling me that Marcia's going to be okay through all of it. And it was emotional, it was up and down, but I felt like this is going to be completely taken care of. And it
Mm,
was the night after her surgery, and she had not spoken for like 10 days. She was semi
wow.
conscious. And I was by the side of her bed because my mother in law had come to take care of the baby, and I spent the nights at the hospital. Well, after sometime that evening, all of a sudden, Marcia starts crawling out of bed. And she hadn't
Oh
moved
my.
for 10 days. And I said, "Where are you going?" And she said, "I'm going to the bathroom." It
Oh
was as
well.
if nothing, Janet, had ever happened. She was completely restored. There was no
Woo.
therapy, no speech requirements. So it was a first class miracle. And
I
I
know.
don't take credit for that, but I
Mm,
did feel like that God was telling me,
yes. Bless you.
He reassures
It's
us
all right.
at times like that when we could be at the bottom, but and Jesus says, in this world you're going to have tribulations and trials.
Yes,
It's not
absolutely.
easy, but he said, be of good cheer. I've overcome the
Oh,
world. And we just need to
yes.
remember that and remember who the enemy is and who is our victor, who our
Mm,
hope is in.
yes, yes. And Robert, God does give us that his peace. He gives us his peace and comfort in those times, I believe, to let us know that yes, everything is going to be okay.
And
Yes.
actually, kind of part two of that, because we had, I so wanted to follow this acting career, and I'd actually made a little success out in LA. But we felt like after it was all over, we were kind of financially, and I felt like a little bit kind of emotionally depleted. So we moved back to the farm. But before we left Los Angeles, another faith example for me, I felt very clearly that God spoke to me. Delay is not denial in regard to this acting career. That you can rest assured that someday this is going to happen. So that sustained me through teaching school, going back into the Army, and then setting up before my end of my Army career, got an
Um,
agent, booking jobs, and so it happened. And so, Janet, miraculously, for the last 30 years, I've been a full time actor. But I rested on that word that I felt God gave me. Delay is not
yes,
denial, which of course led to the title of the book, Delay is Not Denial,
absolutely.
my story.
I wondered how that title got in. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, and I think you've got your book there. Can you show it to us?
Yes, I
The
hope
book?
I can get it. I don't know how it shows up here. Let's see.
Okay.
There's the
Yeah, just
title.
delay is not
There we
denial.
go.
Yes. All
And
right.
that cover was designed by Mr. Kevin Collier, who's extremely talented,
Absolutely,
and of
he
course
is.
Kristen turned it into the publishing format. So
Uh-huh.
we kind of feel like this was a joint effort, between the four
Yes.
of us, because I couldn't
Yes.
have got it written without Marcia's help, and I couldn't have gotten it ready for publication without Kristen and Kevin's help.
Oh, oh
I could
my
say,
goodness.
I
And
could
I think,
certainly pick up
Marcia,
there.
you have a book too, don't you?
Yes, I do. Mine was written in 2006, actually. A little book called Shake the Dust and Move On.
Shake the dust and move
Shake the
on.
dust
Oh,
and move
I
on.
love that. Yes, yes.
But
Well, I
in
tell you, I have put, Robert sent me some links, and so I put all the links down, and there where his book is as well. So please go and check this out. I know it's going to be a blessing to you, and I will, Robert, if you'll send me Marcia's link for her book. I'll be happy to put hers on as well.
Great. Well, we appreciate that because I think
Yes.
Janet, it has a very kind of important story. Sometimes as Christians, we're reluctant to know when can we let go of something, you know.
Ah,
But in the
yes.
Bible, it talks about, Christ told the disciples, hey, if they don't receive you, shake the dust and move on, go somewhere else. So the time can come, not that you don't want to be forgiving, you want to be kind, but
Yes.
sometimes God will let you know when it's okay that you can move on past whatever this particular thing that's really been kind of holding either you up or holding up relationships or whatever it is. That there are places, if you keep God first, that it's okay to move on.
Yes. Yes. Uh, that is wonderful, and I'm sure inspired from the Lord, Marcia, for that. Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
I believe it was. And to
Yes.
transition back to Bob's book, though, I think that has been our most recent faith venture. Um, it has, he was the writer, he was the author. And even though I enjoy writing and taught writing college level for many years, I can look for the dangling modifiers and proofing and let's clarify this or that. But my goal was always to make sure that he was the author and that his tone, his voice came through. So we would talk out things and write. He would sort of write out some sketches, and I did a lot of the writing. But it was really a compliment when our daughter said, you know, when I heard you writing the book, I thought Mom's going to be the one that's going to, you know, be in this. But she said, you know, when I read it, I heard your voice. And so that
How
was
She
really
heard,
a
she heard my voice.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, how
Yeah.
about that?
So that was the
Ooh,
goal. That was the goal.
yes, yes. Oh my goodness. So, Robert, you are continuing now to, of course, you know, we had talked about earlier your career. I mean, you're 30 years. Wow, that's a long time. And to have this many movie credits to your name is just absolutely amazing. So things are beginning to pick up after the pandemic and all that we talked about earlier. So, where can we find you now? What are some things you're working on?
Well, one of the things that you know, we've been really promoting since actually August of last year is a film called Past Shadows that I was co-producer and have the lead in, and it's currently available on multiple sites: Amazon Prime, Christian Cinema,
Uh-huh.
Christian bookstores,
Yeah.
Encourage TV, which includes YouTube, Tubi, and all of those. So any streaming service that you have, you can find Past Shadows, and I think it's a really a story for today. It
Mm,
involves you know, the breakup of a family, which unfortunately is all too common in our
yeah.
society. But again, through how God's grace, you know, there can be reconciliation. So
Yes.
that's out there. I have several other projects that will be coming out later on in the year. One that's just now beginning to make the festival circuit is a little short film I made last year in Oregon called Lucifer and the Father.
Ah.
And believe it or not, I play God. So talk about a tall order. That was
Oh
that
yeah.
was about the tallest.
How about that? Okay, we're looking forward to that. Now, I do remember you saying something about Marcia had a faith story about praying for a husband. Was it?
Oh
She
yes.
does.
If you
Uh,
could briefly tell us a little bit about that. I thought that was
sure.
interesting.
I came from a family that I love and that gave me a lot of opportunities. And this is not a downcast on them at all, but my mother and dad really did not have a good marriage. It was pretty dysfunctional. And my earliest prayers that I can remember was praying, oh, please keep them together. Please keep them together. And the Lord did. But consequently, during that time when I was about 12 years old, I came to faith in the Lord and I started going to church with a friend of mine. My parents would occasionally come to church. They weren't against, you know, I believe they believe in Jesus, but they were not really active in the church.
Mm,
And so I found my role models and, you know, went it alone, so to speak. So when it came to dating and getting in those teen years, I wasn't quite as quick to move into that as some girls
right.
my age were. I wanted to be a teacher. I really was dedicated to the Lord. So it wasn't until after I reached that goal and was teaching that I really realized I'm kind of lonely. You know, this is the hormones
Yeah.
begin to kick in, honestly.
Yeah.
I wanted to get married. And so I started praying about it. And I can remember very specifically, after I'd been praying for quite a while for a husband, Lord, show me the right person. Help me to meet the right person. And I didn't want to just marry someone and be dragging them to church. I wanted a person who was already in faith with God,
Mhm,
in
mhm.
relationship with Him.
Yeah.
So one day when I was praying in the prayer room of our church by myself on my knees, I was praying for the husband, and it was like it wasn't an audible voice, but just like the Holy Spirit speaks to you and says, "What do you want?" And I thought, well, I thought it was clear what I wanted. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but the first thing that came to my mind is, I want a man like David. And immediately I thought, well, David wasn't perfect. I mean, he had
Right.
his fall,
Yeah.
but David was a man after God's own heart, and
Uh,
that's what I wanted, and that's what I held fast to. And throughout time, I kept praying for that man like David. And I
mm,
met a faith partner. I went back to grad school, and that was very purposeful because I think whenever we have faith, faith can be a noun or it can be a verb.
right.
And I think when we make faith an action and take action, it
Yes.
reaps results. And
Yes.
so I gave up my teaching career for a while. I'd saved money and, wasn't being totally foolish here, but went back to Springfield, Missouri to grad school. And I really felt that that's where I would meet the man. And
Ah.
so during that prayer, man like David, to make it a long story short, we met, and this is our year of Jubilee. We met in 1972. So we're kind of celebrating 2022 as our year of Jubilee leading up to December when we actually got married. But it wasn't until we were married about a year, I was on my knees praying again, one time just by myself. Bob was at work. And I said, Lord, thank you for giving me that man like David. And boy, I just got a download that I hadn't even thought about, Janet. The Lord just spoke to me and said, David was a shepherd. I married Bob Shepherd.
How
Spelled
about that?
David was a musician at the time he was leading music in the chapel. He is a musician. And David was a soldier.
Oh,
Shepherd, soldier, musician.
how about that?
Parallel was there. God
Robert
never misses a
Shepherd.
detail.
How about that, Marcia? How that is just a wonderful story there about you praying for a husband and how the Lord kind of guided you, you know, to
Very much.
that's wonderful.
Very much.
And Janet, she talks about putting your faith into action. What
Yes.
she didn't tell you is she knitted a faith vest for the husband before we met, before we ever met. And this
Oh,
was her action to the prayer to knit this faith vest.
I
And
see.
people asked me, does it fit? Well, it kind of did. It was just a little snug. So she gave me, God gave her even more than
More
she
than I
prayed
asked.
for.
How about that? He sure did. Well, before we leave, I would like to ask you what is one thing we can do to hold on to our faith in this ever changing world?
I would say pray, pray, and pray. Sometimes people will say, I'm so discouraged, I just turn off the news. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it. And I kind of listen to it, but I listen to it with a prayer journal. I've got one journal designated for the country and for things that are in the news. And when
Yes.
I hear something, even something I don't like, I'll write it down many times. Or when I hear something, a little glimmer of hope, I will write it down and
Oh,
take it to the Lord.
that is wonderful. What a great thing to do. A great thing to do.
And
All right. Let's
Janet,
see.
I think one practical thing too that goes along with it, besides having and putting faith in action, is so many times you see on Facebook or people at church will say, I need prayer.
Yes.
And so, the natural thing is going to be, okay, I'll try to think about that. But I have found out that if you immediately pray about that, don't put it
With the
off. Don't
person.
wait till you go home. Don't wait till,
Right.
there's a more convenient time. So whether
Right.
it's at church, and I never put yes when somebody on Facebook says they need prayer. I never put yes, I'm praying unless I've actually done it.
Right.
So I think
Right.
I think that's another way of sort of demonstrating our faith in action of trying
Yes.
to take things
Exactly.
immediately to the good
Yes.
Lord.
Yes, yes. While you're there at that post, just go ahead and pray. Yes, absolutely. I agree. I agree. We've got some comments here. Kristen
Oh
Collier.
my goodness, there's our
We love you guys so much. Praise Jesus for your testimony.
Oh, we love
Yeah.
you back.
And she has also put up a link for your book. And here is a link for Marcia's book.
Oh,
So
thank you,
that's
that
Kristen.
is
great. So
great.
we've
Thank
already
you
got
so
the
much.
link for her. Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate that very much. Very much. All right. Uh, thank you so very much again for joining me today, Robert and Marcia Shepherd.
A
And
pleasure.
yes, and I encourage you to please check out their books and check out their links here. It'll take you right to the information that you need. And I also want to thank all of you for watching and thank Creative Motion Network. What a wonderful family that is. And just appreciate them so very much. Check them out. Our broadcast is on there and so many more. Different broadcasts and movies and videos and podcasts, even. So please do check out Creative Motion Network.
Well, Janet,
Have,
I can't tell you how much we appreciate this opportunity today and get
oh,
to meet you, and maybe one day we'll meet in person.
yes, that would be great because we don't live too far
That's
away
right.
from each other. So that would just be wonderful. Thank you, Robert, and bless you all. It's my honor to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from. Bye. God bless.